From tomorrow, we'll be living with Mom. Clear out your room because we're going to have her move in and take care of her." Hearing these words, I was shocked. Ever since visiting my father-in-law and learning a certain fact, I had a premonition that George might say something like this someday. However, I never thought it would become reality so soon. Looking straight into George's eyes, I said with a dry throat due to nervousness, "Understood? I'll call the movers." When I mentioned movers in response to his request to clear out the room, George looked perplexed. "Why would you call movers?" he asked, astonished at his insensitivity. I inwardly sneered and said, "Because we're getting a divorce." "What?" George's foolish expression spread before my eyes. I had anticipated that the word divorce would be surprising to him. "Just wait. I won't let things go your way. I am Isabella Smith. I'm 37 years old and work in the sales department of a foreign consulting firm. Since childhood, I've excelled academically and was taught by my mother that effort is rewarded, so I continued to strive. Always at the top of my class, I garnered respect from teachers and classmates alike. I went on to a renowned university, where I diligently engaged in clubs and volunteer activities in addition to my studies, building a rich network. When I was hired by the company of my dreams after graduation, I felt that all my efforts had paid off. Eventually, as a manager in the sales department, I became busy at work, recognized for my abilities by my superiors, and have been discreetly approached about the possibility of a promotion to director. While the promotion is an honor, I hesitated slightly. Had it been earlier, I would have immediately agreed, but at an age where I was considering marriage, that thought lingered. With a promotion, I would become even busier, making it difficult to find time for a relationship. Though I've always wanted to marry, I decided to prioritize my career, postponing romantic endeavors. Most of my friends have families and are devoted to raising their children, with fewer and fewer working full-time like me. Therefore, I've decided to put my boss offer on hold and start engaging in relationships. Since it was hard for me to find a partner at work, I quickly turned to a dating app. I didn't focus on the income of potential matches but looked for someone close in age. However, even if I found someone appealing, unless both of our feelings are aligned, we wouldn't be a good match. Perhaps because I was 37, I didn't have as much success in finding a partner as I had hoped. After a month of using the app, the only person I matched with and felt good about was a man named George. After several message exchanges, we met in person. He was a handsome 33-year-old, 4 years younger than me. At our first meeting, I wondered why such a handsome man was okay getting matched with me. I like older women. After setting various criteria, I hardly found my type of older woman. "When I saw you, Isabella, it just clicked," he said, making me overjoyed. During our first date, I was already attracted to George's personality and demeanor. Then, on our second date, he unexpectedly confessed his feelings, and we became a couple. I hadn't expected our relationship to progress so smoothly and regretted not using the dating app sooner, even if just a little. George works at a local automotive parts factory and has been there since graduating high school. Meanwhile, I'm engaged in international business at a foreign consulting firm. When I shared this with him, he listened intently, his eyes sparkling with interest. I believe that no job is superior or inferior and factory work is respectable, but being genuinely praised felt good. Working at a foreign consulting firm must come with a good salary, right? He asked. Although younger, his innocence and approachability made him increasingly endearing to me. I replied, "Well, the salary level is relatively high in the industry." Hearing this, he said, "I see, I'm envious. I'm just a high school graduate, so compared to my friends with college degrees, my salary is lower and I feel a bit complex about it." Though he smiled as he spoke, behind that smile, I sensed his financial anxieties and desires. Our conversation continued, but George repeatedly steered it towards financial topics. It was clear that he deeply desired economic stability and improvement, a sentiment strongly emanated through his words and actions. Seeing George earnestly listen to me, I could only feel that he was a sincere person. Within just 6 months of meeting, we were on our way to getting married. My heart was filled with joy, almost as if I was floating. Never in my dreams did I think I would marry a younger, handsome man at my age. However, when things seem too good to be true, they often are, and I was soon to deeply realize this fact. We decided to start our marriage introductions at my parents' house. The surprise on my parents' faces when they first saw George was immeasurable. "How did you find such a handsome man to be your husband? Isabella, you're so lucky." While their words felt slightly rude to me, it showed how much they liked George. After successfully meeting with my family, we went to meet George's family. There, we faced unexpected trouble. "So, you're Isabella," George's mother began. How should I put it? You're not quite what I was expecting." I couldn't hide my astonishment at her harsh words on our first meeting. "Excuse me? What did you just say?" I tried to clarify, but she brushed it off with, "Well, it's fine," and left the room. "I'm terribly sorry. My wife tends to speak whatever comes to her mind," George's father apologized. Despite George's mother's comment, I felt relieved by his father's kind demeanor. "Yes, I'm just surprised. I look forward to getting to know you better," I replied, offering a respectful reintroduction. Then George suggested with excitement, "Let's stop the gloomy talk. Let's go see our new home." Stop the gloomy talk. I thought to myself, but George seemed light-hearted after the greetings, cheerfully taking me along. "I'd prefer somewhere close to my parents' house. It's convenient, you know," said George. "Understood. Let's do that," I agreed, having no particular preference for our residence and choosing to follow George's wishes. Thus, we completed our greetings with both families and firmly got married. We chose a high-rise apartment near George's parents' house, following his strong wish. My heart continued to flutter with excitement. I took on the apartment loan, paying $1,900 monthly, while George agreed to handle food and utility expenses. "Getting married in 6 months. I'm excited for our future," George said. Seeing George's refreshing smile, the monthly loan of $1,900 felt surprisingly light. I felt our new married life was filled with promise. At that time, I couldn't even imagine the regrets that would come later. A week after our marriage, on a weekend, my mother-in-law visited our new home to celebrate. "Hello, Mother," I greeted her, trying to maintain a cheerful expression despite recalling our previous encounter. Living in a place like this. How presumptuous." "Oh, I've been wanting this table. Can I take it?" "What?" "Oh, and this vase and bookshelf too. They're perfect for my taste. George knows well," she remarked as she looked around, expressing a desire to take our furnishings for herself. Wasn't she here to offer congratulations? Right? I thought it would suit Mom's taste. "Feel free to use anything here." Unbelievably, George was also encouraging his mother in the same way right there, and I couldn't hide my astonishment. What surprised me more was that from that day on, my mother-in-law frequently visited our home. Each visit, she would find something she wanted, like, "Let me borrow this plate until tomorrow," or, "Oh, I've been wanting this foot massager. Just lend it to me for a week," and would take it home. Though she said she was borrowing them, I noticed that none of the items ever returned, so I casually brought it up with George. "The things we lent to your mother haven't come back. Could you possibly talk to her about it?" I asked politely. However, it seemed George perceived my concern as annoyance towards his mother. "It's not a big deal, right? It's not like anything is getting reduced. They will be returned eventually. Besides, you have a good income, so I think it's fine for her to give Mom a dish or two," came the astonishing response. "Not getting reduced. In reality, nothing I lend ever returns, and most of my income is going towards the mortgage." I had things I wanted to say, but I didn't want to create friction with George over his mother so early in our marriage. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'll wait patiently for their return," I said, settling the matter. "Oh, that's fine then." Once George realized I wasn't pressing further about his mother, he quickly showed a relieved smile. However, a strange unease lingered in my heart. This unease became reality as my mother-in-law began contacting me frequently, not just visiting. Her requests were typically, "My feet hurt. Could you buy me the new outfit from that store?" It was a mere errand running. "Why do I have to?" Before I could even ask, she would always rush me with, "Hurry up." It didn't matter if I was at the salon or on a date with George. And George would say, "Mom can't go shopping herself. It's pitiful. Try to listen to her a bit." It was frustrating enough. But after fulfilling the tasks, she never thanked me, always saying, "I'll pay you back later," but never did. Naturally, I became anxious about when the next call would come, spending my days in fear. At a time when this abnormal mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship continued, I received news from George that his father had fallen and was hospitalized. Dad slipped on the stairs at home. "He's old. He should have been more careful." Despite him being injured, George's words sounded almost mocking. "Elderly? He's only 63, right? If he's healthy, using stairs is normal. Besides, it happened inside the house. Why are you so indifferent?" I respected my father-in-law, who was always polite to me, unlike his wife. I felt angry at George for speaking ill of him. "It's none of your concern, Isabella. Just leave it be." Feeling criticized, George said this and went back to his room. The next morning, I decided to visit the hospitalized father-in-law. I bought flowers on the way. He was surprised but thanked me gently with a smile when he saw the flowers. His leg was bandaged. It seemed like a fracture. It was clear that his hospital stay would be extended. "Are you okay, Father?" "Yes, I'm just glad it's nothing life-threatening. But Isabella, there's something I want to tell you." He looked at me intently, as if pondering deeply. What did he want to tell me? Since we hadn't interacted much, I immediately thought it might be about his wife or George. Actually, after hearing his story, various emotions surged within me. The strongest was anger towards George and his mother. "Don't tell them about this conversation yet. I'll speak when the time is right." "Understood." I nodded deeply to his request, still shaking from the shock of what I heard. 6 months passed since he fractured his leg. During that time, the calls from my mother-in-law became even worse, often reaching me at work. "I'm sorry, I'm at work right now." "That doesn't matter. Come now. Otherwise, I'll take everything from your house." Her demands felt almost like threats. While working outside, I ended up having to fulfill her requests, which distracted me from my job, causing concern from my boss. Out of defiance against following her orders, I mustered the courage to change my phone number. However, when she couldn't reach me, she came to our house directly, complaining. The action backfired, leaving me feeling trapped with no way out. If she were a stranger, I could have reported her for stalking to the police. But being family, I felt I couldn't seek help, which was agonizing. Then the inevitable moment arrived. On a Saturday afternoon, returning from grocery shopping and about to start preparing lunch, George appeared in the kitchen and declared, "From tomorrow, we'll be living with Mom. Clear out your room because we're going to have her move in and take care of her." Hearing these words, I was shocked. Ever since visiting my father-in-law and learning a certain fact, I had a premonition that George might say something like this someday. However, I never thought it would become reality so soon. Not even a year of our marriage had passed. I had already decided what I would do if George truly chose to live with his mother. Looking straight into George's eyes, I said with a dry throat due to nervousness, "Understood? I'll call the movers." When I mentioned movers in response to his request to clear out the room, George looked perplexed. "Why would you call movers?" he asked, astonished at his insensitivity. I inwardly sneered and said, "Because we're getting a divorce." "What?" George's foolish expression spread before my eyes. I had anticipated that the word divorce would be surprising to him. In fact, I had been considering leaving George for a long time, especially since the day I heard about George and his mother from his father. "Just wait. I won't let things go your way." With that resolve, I washed my hands in the kitchen, took off my apron, and returned to my room. I was clutching the divorce papers tightly in my hand. My part was already filled out. Here, the divorce papers. Please sign and submit them. I'll contact the movers later to check when they can come, and then I'll sell this house. George paled at the sight of the divorce papers. He must not have imagined that I already had the completed divorce papers. What? Divorce? Why so sudden? And selling the house, you can't just decide that. Hearing George say those cold words, I realized he overlooked one crucial fact. It's possible. The house was bought in my name, remember? Have you forgotten? I'm the one paying the mortgage. If I agree, the sale of the house can proceed immediately. What? George's eyes widened in astonishment. Even though he's younger than me and in his mid-30s, it was almost laughable that he didn't understand such a basic thing. Seeing George unable to respond, I felt the discussion might go smoother than expected. At that moment, the front door opened, and someone came in. Excuse me, George, how's the living together plan going? Unexpectedly, it was his mother who appeared. I was sure I had locked the front door, but seeing the spare key in the mother-in-law's hand, I was infuriated. Apparently, George had made a spare key and given it to her without my knowledge. I'm sorry, Mother, but George and I have decided to divorce, and I'm selling this house. The living together plan is off. Before she could say anything, I quickly informed her, and she exclaimed in surprise, Really? What are you talking about? Are you out of your mind? Regardless of your opinion, I won't allow you to disrupt our plans. I believe George married a wonderful spouse. After all, you have a high-income job and provided such a nice house. I was right in choosing you as his marriage partner at my suggestion. Now selling the house or divorcing is nothing but a fairy tale. I won't allow it. She spoke calmly, but her words were unbelievable. Married at your suggestion. What do you mean? Literally what I said. Was it a matching app? Nowadays, there's no need for a marriage agency. There are convenient alternatives. I checked each woman George found on the app. It was hard to find someone who met the criteria. I was about to give up and go to a marriage agency when I found you. Working in a foreign consulting firm, I thought you must have a good income. And I was right. Listening to her words gave me a headache. So George had been using the matchmaking app in order to look for a partner with a suitable income together with his mother. Recalling the conversation I had with his father earlier, it became clear that George had no love for me. It made sense why a charming man like George would choose someone like me, who had no outstanding qualities apart from income. There should be many younger and more attractive individuals on the matchmaking app. The doubts I had for a long time were being resolved one after another as the problem unfolded, with only anger surging within me. That's why you should continue paying the house mortgage and live with us peacefully. You're already 38. It would be difficult to get married again, right? You should be grateful that a man like me married you, so just tolerate living with my mom. With his mother's support, George declared this contentedly. How can I make these two agree with my perspective? Thinking calmly, it was George and his mother whose arguments were illogical. However, I couldn't bear to listen to them anymore, seeing them as nothing but selfish children. And I started to feel that any serious adult conversation would be futile. I was planning to pretend to accept the cohabitation temporarily, and Ray proposed divorce at the next opportunity when the doorbell rang, causing me to be startled. I checked the visitor on the LCD monitor and gasped at the sight of my father-in-law. Who is it? Who has come? It seemed that George and his mother couldn't see his face on the screen as I was standing in front of the monitor. Yes. After a brief reply, I unlocked the door. The sight of him walking through the auto-lock entrance was confirmed. Soon, the room's doorbell rang again, and I cautiously opened the door. Father, what brings you here? I came to check if my wife is here. Mother? Yes, she's here, but... Alright, then I'll come in. Saying this, he lightly patted my shoulder as if to reassure me and headed towards the living room, where I let out a sigh of relief. Huh? You? Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be in the hospital? She was astonished to see him, as if she had seen a ghost. Yes, I was hospitalized because of someone, but I was discharged yesterday. His words were calm, yet had a silencing power. Discharged yesterday. I didn't hear about that. You should have told me first. I was planning to pick you up. She hurriedly made excuses, attempting to appear like a caring wife. But her efforts clearly missed the mark, and both my father-in-law and I shared a wry smile. Pick me up? Oh, because your legs are bad? You would walk to pick me up? Or maybe by taxi? Well, either way, even if you had known about my discharge, you wouldn't have come to pick me up. His sharp gaze was fixed on her. Why would you say something so awful? That's not true. Her voice sounded deeply hurt, but I knew it was all an act. I knew from his stories how easily she could lie. Humph, hypocrite. You were the one who pushed me down the stairs, weren't you? To be able to say such a thing so easily. His words were filled with strong resentment towards her. Faced with this shocking revelation, I was left dumbfounded. She had pushed him down the stairs? Surprised as I was, it seemed possible coming from her. However, having heard about the discord between him and her before, I understood his words to be true. What are you talking about? There's no evidence. Her shrill protest sounded like an admission of guilt. To me, her behavior appeared ridiculous. Mom, did you really push Dad down the stairs? Even George, who never thought his mother could do such a thing, was shocked. No, I would never do such a thing. Right, George? Do I look like a person who would do something so terrible? Well, yeah. George's response suddenly became vague. He was aware that his parents were not getting along well. Given his mother's personality, he seemed to feel that it was not an impossible scenario. The truth revealed by my father-in-law clearly weakened the assertiveness of George and his mother. I saw this as an excellent opportunity to take action. I decided to reveal all my hidden thoughts right there and then. George, Mother, when I visited Father in the hospital, I heard about a certain plan. It seems you were planning to eliminate me after using me for my financial resources. And then, you were planning to live as you pleased with the insurance money. Why would you say that? George couldn't hide his surprise at my statement. I had heard about this shocking plan from my father-in-law while he was hospitalized. He happened to overhear George and his mother discussing their scheme to target my assets. The relationship between both of George's parents had been cold for a long time, with almost no conversation. She had a strong obsession with money, constantly demanding him to earn more while she herself squandered money on luxury brands, discarding them once bored, causing him to drift away. Knowing that I had financial resources, she and George schemed to extract money from me. Realizing that this cohabitation proposal was also part of their attempt to leech off me sent shivers down my spine. If you're going to have secret talks, you should at least be careful about the location. Do you underestimate me? I advised them, who had plotted in my father-in-law's house. Their faces turned red rapidly. Whether it was out of anger, embarrassment, or a mix of both was unclear, but they seemed to realize they were in a predicament. I've been listening quietly, but to look down on people. If you had just compiled obediently, we wouldn't have needed to resort to these measures. That's right. You always thought of us as a nuisance, didn't you? That attitude really irritates me. When cornered, George and his mother quickly started to blame me. I was utterly exasperated by their selfish claims. My father-in-law, too, watched with a grim expression, reflecting the years of enduring life with them. Looking coldly at George and his mother, I took a deep breath and began to speak. Look down on people? George, is that about yourself? While looking down on me, you've always prioritized your mother, haven't you? Have you ever considered how much that hurt me? And Mother, I have listened to your unreasonable requests many times. I was honestly exhausted by your sudden demands. Still, I think I've always done as you asked. Was your claim about having bad legs a lie? I'm done being at your beck and call. As I mentioned earlier, I'm divorcing George, and I'm selling this house. I won't give you any of my assets. With that declaration, George and his mother gasped. At that moment, my father-in-law added, I'm sorry, but I intend to get divorced as well. We've barely talked for years, and I decided this when I fell down the stairs. So, could you please leave now? You're a nuisance. His calm tone carried the weight of a family's pillar, causing George and his mother to tremble. Divorce is out of the question. Absolutely not. My mother-in-law screamed, more out of economic fear for the future than affection for him. Their selfish motives were glaringly obvious, making the conversation worthless to both me and my father-in-law, extinguishing any desire to continue such discussions. You'll regret this after the divorce. Remember my words. Do your best to live alone. With those angry words thrown at me, they hastily left the residence. I responded calmly, if that's all you have to say, please do so. Try living on your own strength from now on. After the exchange, I expressed my deep gratitude to the father-in-law, saying, "Father, thank you so much." He smiled kindly and said, No, I deeply apologize for the trouble I've caused you. Isabella, you deserve a much better life ahead, and I'm sure you'll find someone better and build a happy future. With a serene expression, he quietly left the room, following George and his mother. Several days later, George finally submitted the divorce papers to the court, and our divorce proceedings were completed very smoothly and swiftly. As a result, we both began to walk new paths in life, severing our past ties. After the divorce, I decided to start a new chapter in my life. I let go of the luxury apartment where I previously lived and decided to move to a smaller apartment that was closer to my workplace and had all the necessary amenities for living. Paying off the mortgage for the previous luxurious high-rise apartment was indeed a huge burden for me. Being freed from that pressure and settling in a more economical rental property was a great relief. Recently, I had a chance to meet with my former father-in-law. During that meeting, he informed me that his divorce had been successfully finalized. In that conversation, a new fact came to light. According to him, George and his mother were in a state of significant debt. This shocking information was completely unexpected for me, especially regarding George. It turned out that he had been deeply involved in gambling even before our marriage, and this had led to his debt. My former father-in-law seemed unaware of this fact, too, and apologized for it. I immediately reassured him that he didn't need to be so downhearted. I had never imagined that George had such a severe gambling problem. He never showed any signs of it during our relationship, so his motive to marry me had that background. On the other hand, his mother's financial state was as I had anticipated. She had been splurging on expensive brands, resulting in financial struggles, and later, she even attempted to engage in dubious online businesses to deceive others for money. My former father-in-law felt reassured that his decision to divorce was indeed wise after realizing her true nature. Currently, George and his mother are living in a cramped apartment together. They seem to be struggling with their daily lives, already overwhelmed with financial difficulties before even starting to repay their debts. Hearing about the tough life they are likely to face after losing me as their financial pillar made me feel that they should rightfully confront that harsh reality, though part of me wishes that on them. I have no interest in further involving myself with them and sincerely hope they start anew somewhere out of my sight. Amidst these circumstances, I've felt a renewed passion for my work, achieving the promotion to sales manager that was planned, and now leading the entire sales team. While this has increased my workload, it has also enhanced my sense of accomplishment, feeling the joy of being recognized by others. Should I meet someone in the future with whom I can share my life, I would consider marriage, but even without such an encounter, I find no issue in living a fulfilling life through my work. Moving forward, I plan to focus on what I am truly passionate about, achieving results in that field. I intend to keep concentrating on my career and personal growth, continuously striving for better. Since my parents are coming to live here, can you leave? His unexpected request caught me off guard. To be told such a thing in the house we've shared. Okay. But I need some time to pack. Can you wait until tomorrow? That was my response. After some thought, he coldly replied, "Fine, I'll stay in a nearby hotel until then. I don't want to see your face." I wondered where he planned to get the money for the hotel. From our joint account, perhaps? I decided not to ask him right then and remained silent. "If you leave any of your stuff, I'll throw it away," he said as he opened the door. I watched him leave and let out a deep sigh. I'm the one paying $1,800 a month for the house mortgage. Sometimes I wondered if he truly understood that. I pulled myself together and contacted our daughter, Anna. "Anna, I need to leave the house for a bit. Can I stay with you for a while?" "Sure. I'll come pick you up tomorrow. Thank you so much." Feeling grateful for her words, I dialed another number. I felt like George had been looking down on me, so I decided to give him a lesson. In the end, George had a tough experience. "My name is Sarah. I'm 51 and I spend my days working hard at work and at home. I live with my husband, George. One day, I met him through an acquaintance and before I knew it, we were married. At 23, we were blessed with an angelic daughter, Anna. However, George hardly ever paid attention to Anna and I was mostly the one taking care of her. "Hey, play with Anna once in a while." He carelessly responded, "That's a woman's job, right?" Yes, he had decided that housework was a woman's duty and wouldn't help. But Anna was such a good child, always helping me whenever I was tired. "Dad, if you're relaxing, help out. Housework is your mother's duty." Without hesitation, Anna retorted, "Then what's your duty? Mom works for both you and her." Even George couldn't resist helping a bit after hearing her genuine words. Now, Anna has built a new life in a distant state, living happily with her husband's family. My parents passed away in an accident 5 years ago, and I had to let go of our beloved family home. George's parents live a bit far away, and we only see them at occasional family gatherings. They don't interfere with our lives and live peacefully. The relationship between George and me was, to put it mildly, complicated. Simply put, he's living day to day like a part-timer. "How's your current job?" "I quit." Again, his nature is to quit at the slightest obstacle. Whenever there's a problem, he runs away quickly. At best, he stays at his job for 3 months. At worst, he quits on the first day. Because of this pattern, there aren't many companies willing to employ him long-term. So, even at 56, he's stuck doing part-time jobs. We often fight over this. "Don't you want to take things more seriously? You're so persistent. People just don't appreciate my abilities." George's educational background is impressive. He graduated from a renowned university. But one's worth isn't just about their educational background. And I believe he should utilize that impressive education in his work. But I sometimes doubt if he's truly leveraging his abilities. My background is different. I started working right after high school. During high school, my father fell ill, and I had to support our family financially. Thanks to that, I've become a reliable figure in my company. Yet, it seemed that George didn't appreciate my efforts. "You didn't even go to college, yet you complain about me." Whenever I voiced my opinions, he responded this way. So, lately, I've been careful about what I say to him. Back when he was chasing his dreams, his eyes shone so brightly that I was captivated. Just like stars, while pursuing his dream, he truly sparkled. But recently, that spark seems to have disappeared. I wonder what he thinks of me. Lately, I've been having thoughts like that more and more, even considering divorce. Then, a surprising incident happened. I was a bit curious and checked our joint bank account. It's decreased by $2,000. Why? For someone like me who doesn't waste money, this amount was a shock. After all, I've been working hard to protect our household finances. So I asked him, "What did you use this $2,000 for?" He replied with an annoyed expression, "Actually, I gave it to my parents." I thought to myself, why? His parents, nearing 80, were really energetic and enjoyed doing volunteer work. I had never heard that they were in trouble, so I was surprised. I always considered his parents to be dependable. They've helped us in the past, but I never imagined they'd need our help. I couldn't hide my shock and surprise that he spent $2,000 for his parents. When I asked, "Why did you spend so much money?" he replied proudly, "Actually, my mother's birthday is coming up. So, I decided to give her a surprise hot spring trip. But why from our joint account? I asked. He calmly replied, "It's okay. It's all part of being filial." I was a bit angry and said, "Shouldn't you have used your own pocket money?" He's always like this, using the money I save up without any hesitation. Like this house, for instance. He committed to it without consulting me. When I was worried about the payments, he reassured me by saying, "You have a steady job, so it should be fine, right?" Though the house was bought in my name, he seems to brag to his friends that it's his. Honestly, I've been feeling worn out by his attitude. "You're my wife, just follow my directions," he said, looking displeased, and then he went to his room. Whenever something went amiss, he locked himself away. I was left to think about our problems and would start doing some chores. The money I'd been saving up little by little was used like this. Our budget was tight since he used almost all my part-time job income. I wanted to escape this situation, but I found myself sighing. One day, memories of our fight still fresh. I received a call from my mother-in-law, thanking us for the hot spring trip. But what she said next shocked me. She told me he had proposed that they live with us after their trip. "Why did you suggest living together?" I asked, surprised. He said, "They're getting old, and it might be better to sell the family home and live together." I told him decisions like that should be made together and reminded him of the household situation. He snapped at me, "You're so annoying. If you're not satisfied, do whatever you want." I was speechless when he hit the table in anger. "All right, but I need time to pack. Can you wait until tomorrow?" He replied, "It's okay. I wanted some space anyway. I'll stay at a hotel for the next couple of days." I wondered where he'd get the money for the hotel. "It would probably be from our joint account. If I find any of your stuff, I'll throw it out. Don't forget anything," he said and left in a hurry. Watching his back, I felt drained. "Don't you know that I'm paying a monthly mortgage of $1,800? I muttered to myself and then decided to contact Anna. She lives in another state, but she has always been my rock. "Hello, Anna. You won't believe what happened." "What's wrong?" Anna's voice was as kind as ever. "It seems that suddenly his parents are coming to live with us, and he told me to leave." "What? Seriously?" I could sense her shock. "Yes. I really don't understand him. That's troubling. But if there's any way I can help, let me know." Her comforting words lightened my heart a bit. She's always been there for me. I was wondering, can I stay at your place for a bit? "Of course. Don't even ask. You're always welcome." I was grateful for Anna's bright words. "Thank you. This really helps." After hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath. I had decided to go to Anna's place, but it wouldn't end with just that. I had my own plans. Now, I need to make another call to solve one more problem. It seemed like he was underestimating me. If that's the case, maybe I'd give him a little surprise. And so, I called someone. "Hello, sorry for the sudden call, but I need your help tomorrow." As a result, George found himself in a much more difficult situation than expected, and his home felt like a true sanctuary for the soul. For the first time in a while, I had a genuinely relaxing moment. I decided to momentarily forget about work and, for a change, enjoy some me time, so I took paid leave. And his husband and father-in-law warmly welcomed me, making me feel like I was truly part of their family. The bond of the family after her mother-in-law's death felt incredibly special. My little granddaughter was initially wary of me, but by the next day, she reached her hands out to me, wanting me to play together with her. Her voice calling me grandma felt oddly comforting. As I was enjoying this peaceful time, my mobile suddenly rang. Looking at the notification, I thought to myself, I knew it. I let out a sigh and answered, "Hello, what is it?" George, as expected, sounded frantic. "What happened?" "The house is a mess." Imagining his surprised face, I suppressed a chuckle. "That's because, like you said, I removed almost everything." "What do you mean, almost everything?" "Actually, the person I contacted was a friend who runs a waste collection service. They helped me clean out my furniture and appliances like my sofa, bed, refrigerator, and washing machine. Recyclable items were sent to a trusted recycling shop, while non-recyclables were properly disposed of. You know that I chose and bought most of the stuff in our house, right? I playfully teased George. Do you recall anything you bought with your own money? George, taking some time to think, replied, you may be right, but doing all this is a bit extreme. At that moment, Anna quietly approached me and said, Mom, let me borrow this for a bit, and gently took my phone with a smile. Seeing her smile reminded me of the old times when she used to scold George, which felt nostalgic. Hello, Dad. It's Anna. It's been a while. When Anna turned the speaker on, George's voice filled the room. Anna, you're with Mom. Yes, Mom is at our place right now. Anna's cheery confirmation seemed to puzzle George. With a serious expression, Anna asked, Dad, why has it come to this? Mom has always been the backbone of our home and supported us. Compared to that, what about you? Her words weighed heavy and tension filled the room. I was curious about how George would reply. Enough. Tell Sarah I'm seriously considering a divorce. Are you serious? What do you plan to do, Mom? If it comes to that, I'm open to a divorce. Really? Hearing my unexpected response, George's voice was filled with sheer astonishment. He probably never thought I'd consider divorce seriously. He seemed to be a bit too self-centered. I'll say it one more time. Are you really going to get a divorce? Sure. But don't expect any assets. I have no intention of sharing. Recalling our marital life, I remembered how I took care of our finances while he spent freely. We often had money-related arguments. It's okay. I get it. Just make sure to transfer the house's name. Sure, the house is yours now. All right then. I'll prepare the necessary documents. Thanks. After ending the call, Anna returned my phone. Her face showed concern, but her smile was kind and understanding. Mom, are you sure about the house? You bought everything with your salary, right? Well, there's nothing to worry about. Actually, when I told Anna the truth about the house, she burst out laughing. Indeed, I acquired that house with the money I earned. But there's still a mountain of unpaid mortgages. The amount of those mortgages is many times George's monthly salary. I can't imagine him paying that every month. I see. You're really amazing, aren't you, Mom? I've been working behind the scenes a bit too, so Dad will probably get into a fix soon. Anna said with a smug smile. What do you mean? Actually, I've become very close with Grandpa and Grandma, so I get a lot of information. Anna winked playfully, flashing a mischievous, childlike grin. Unlike me, she highly valued her relationship with her grandparents and frequently kept in touch. Because of this, after Anna reached out to her grandmother, things quickly escalated. My in-laws decided to cut their trip short and came to apologize to me. Sarah, we're truly sorry. We should have explained our situation. They gently elaborated on the recent chaos. So, the decision about selling their family home was true. But the reason behind it was because they were planning to move into a senior facility. They're currently waiting for a room to open up in the retirement home. For the brief interim, they needed a place to stay, and it happened to be our house. Upon hearing their wishes, George suggested they all live together with him. Although my in-laws were worried about causing me inconveniences, George told them, Sarah fully agrees. In fact, she suggested it. Thus, they seemed to be convinced to move in. However, I never agreed to any such thing. My relationship with my in-laws was quite ordinary. I would never make such a bold proposal. So it was all Dad's cunning idea, Anna remarked, looking exasperated. My in-laws, resembling parents apologizing for their child's mischief, seemed deeply remorseful. Afterwards, they were furious at George. Their eyes brimmed with the question, why would you do such a thing? He came up with this plan on his own, even trying to kick Sarah out of her own home. And he's always been at home, not even working properly. We need to distance ourselves from him, they concluded, seemingly cutting ties with their son. Later, they deeply apologized to me and left in a somber mood. Honestly, I think my in-laws are decent people. They seemed financially stable. having afforded George's expensive university fees. Hey, don't you think Grandma and Grandpa's parenting style is a bit too liberal? Anna asked me curiously. Why do you think that way? I responded, well, they could see Dad not working, but they didn't say anything. Plus, he seems to have inherited their personality. True, George always appeared quite indifferent towards Anna. My in-laws seemed absorbed in their volunteer work and hobbies, drawing a line between them and our family. However, maybe that's not unusual. I was always worried about Anna and occasionally called her. Perhaps my in-laws' leniency influenced George's selfish behavior. But George is an adult. He shouldn't let little things upset him and should act responsibly. It's only been a month since our divorce when my phone rang. I saw George's name, someone I considered part of my past. With a slight frown, I answered, "What now? We have nothing left between us. Listen, it's about the house mortgage." There was panic and confusion in his voice. Apparently, he received the next mortgage statement. I diligently paid $1,800 every month, but he might have been unaware of the amount. It says $1,800 a month? Unbelievable. Yes, I've been paying it properly. You graduated from a good school, right? You can manage that, can't you? I could understand his shock. George's income was just over $1,200 a month. Given his spending habits, he barely saved anything. Although most items in the house were gone, he was able to manage with things he received from his parents. However, he wasn't good at housekeeping and ended up spending money on eating out and laundromats. For him, a mortgage surpassing his income would be tough. Are you surprised that I, a high school graduate, can pay $1,800? Well, kind of. You see, even as a high school graduate, I worked hard, steadily getting promotions. I realized the importance of perseverance. That's impressive, but it might be tough for me. It was your choice to be in this situation. Stop blaming others and take responsibility. When we divorced, we had clearly discussed the mortgage and other details. So, it was a given that George would pay for it if he continued to live in that house. By the way, his parents seemed to have moved to a senior facility. When George reached out for help, they firmly told him, "You're an adult. Take care of your own affairs. Sarah, won't you reconsider? Let's start afresh." Wait, you're kidding, right? We can't be together anymore. Then, how am I supposed to pay off the mortgage? That's for you to figure out. When we were together, I paid for it, didn't I? Hearing his frustrated voice, I thought to myself, do your best. His future decisions and actions are up to him. I changed my settings so that I wouldn't receive any more calls from him. I had just started on a new path, so being pulled back into the past was truly bothersome. Hey, did you get any call from Dad? Actually, yes. Despite never truly apologizing, he asked if we could get back together. I could see through his words, though. It's all about money. Oh, maybe that's why he contacted me, too. After I rejected his proposal, it seemed he had been contacting Anna numerous times. Despite always being weak in front of Anna, him persistently trying to contact her might mean he was genuinely struggling. I told him that this is the result of his actions. Exactly. Also, now that you finally have the peace you deserve, Mom, I told him sternly not to cause any more trouble. Thank you so much, Anna. I'm so happy to see my daughter grow into such a considerate and wonderful woman. I felt proud of her. Hey, Mom, I've been wondering, do you know what Dad was spending his money on? Why do you ask? Didn't he frequently spend money on gambling? At that, I couldn't help but chuckle. George's income wasn't that great, to be honest. Now that I think about it, maybe he was sometimes grumpy because he lost money due to gambling. That's true. On the days he actually won, he would sometimes buy us special treats. His personality was perhaps a bit simple, but I wonder why I even married him. I chuckled at the naivety of my past self. When my friend introduced me to him, he seemed to sparkle. But Anna is smart. She learned from my experiences and chose someone opposite of George, someone truly kind. Anna's husband is family-oriented, spends weekends with her and their daughter actively, and has a high position at his job, ensuring a stable life. He loves playing with his daughter during his free time and occasionally checks up on me. You really chose a good man. Do you think so, Mom? Thank you. As she spoke with a beaming smile, she looked genuinely happy. From now on, it's time for you to enjoy your life more. I'm getting older though. I'm not sure where to start. Age is just a number, Mom. You can still find a lot of happiness ahead of you. Hearing Anna's words warmed my heart. I suddenly hoped for someone understanding like Anna's father-in-law to be my next partner in life. Just then, I heard my granddaughter calling out to play. Grandma, come play with me. Oh, have you been waiting to play with me? Let's play together. Surrounded by Anna's joyful family, I, too, was smiling. I'm glad that Anna is blessed with such a wonderful family. Changing the topic, it seems George faced financial difficulties and had to sell the house. He used the money to pay off some debts but moved to a cramped apartment. He struggled to find a stable job and his debts only grew. Eventually, he couldn't even pay rent and ended up living on the streets. One day, I heard shocking news that he was taken away by a shady group. His path was indeed a result of his own choices. George's parents felt deeply remorseful. They didn't want to burden me anymore. They sold their house and used their savings to pay for a facility. They also ensured their inheritance would go to me. I don't need this much money, I told them, but they insisted it was their apology. In the midst of all this, with a bit of financial freedom, I considered moving out of Anna's home. But, Mom, you can stay here. I certainly don't want to bother you and your family, Anna. Actually, my husband and I were talking about living together with you. Really? It seems Anna's always cared for me. And after discussing it with her husband and father-in-law, they planned to invite me to live with them. And then, I received the invitation at just the right time. So, Mom, don't be too concerned. Just have fun playing with the kids. Okay, thank you, Anna. My granddaughter had taken a real liking to me. Due to Anna's husband's background of being raised in a single-parent household with his father, he warmly welcomed me into their home. And his father-in-law also expressed his wish for me to live happily. And with that kind gesture, I decided to move in with them. Previously, money was tight, so I had to work. But now, with the help of Anna, her husband, and her father-in-law, things have become much easier. And here's some exciting news. Anna is expecting her second child. In the meantime, I've been helping around the house, playing with my granddaughter, and spending my time that way. Anna's father-in-law also helps with household chores just like me, so we have a fun time together doing things around the house. Whenever I do something, the family always says thank you, and that makes me very happy. Unlike my previous husband, this family openly expresses their gratitude. Each time, I truly feel, I'm so fortunate. When asked, how do you get along with my father-in-law? I replied with a smile, I want to spend my life with him forever. That's good. It feels like a new family, Anna said, gently rubbing her belly. With Anna in my life, everything has become much brighter. Meeting her might be the only thing I'm thankful for regarding George, LOL. With that thought, I'm motivated to do my best for my family today as well. Sarah, if you'd like, I want to walk through life with you from now on. How does that sound? Are you sure about me? If so, of course, let's be together. I responded to his words like this. I've regained my confidence. I was on the verge of forgetting my own worth, but his words made me realize its value again. I believe that as a family, we'll face many happy moments and challenges together from now on, and that truly warms my heart.